Good evening, everyone. We're going to make a start. Apologies for the delay. As described, that is due to some printing issues. Amit, the scrutiny officer for this commission, will return soon. Welcome to the Education and Local Economy Scrutiny Commission. My name is Councillor Cassandra Brown and I'm the chair of the commission. We're not a decision-making body and our role is to make recommendations for consideration by the Cabinet. There are no planned fire alarm tests this evening. If you hear the fire alarm, please leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the agreed assembly point, which is at St John's Churchyard off Druid Street. Council security staff will be available to direct you. Public toilets, should anybody need them, are located just off the main reception area as you enter the building. And please switch your mobile phone to silent whilst you're in the meeting room if you haven't already. Members of the public in the room are welcome to film, audio record, photograph or tweet the public proceedings of the meeting if they wish to, but please can I ask that you are considerate towards other people in the room and take care not to disturb the proceedings of the meeting. If you are filming the meeting, please do not film the audience. A copy of the Council's protocol for reporting and filming is available on the Southwark website, and the Council's free internet is called Southwark Free Wi-Fi and doesn't need a password to access. The meeting is being live streamed via the Microsoft Teams platform to YouTube and will be uploaded to the Southwark Council YouTube channel by tomorrow. I'd like to remind members here to raise your hand if you wish to speak, and please wait until I've given you permission to speak before contributing. Please can members and officers, probably me included, ensure that they keep the microphone and close to their mouths and speak directly into it, because this is something we consistently have issues with in terms of the recording. And please can I ask members to refrain from digressing onto other issues. Please keep comments and questions concise and specific to the agenda for tonight's meeting. So on to agenda item 1, which is apologies. So tonight we have received apologies for lateness from Councillor Mohammed Dean, and that is all, I believe. Okay, cool. They're not noted, but that's fine. I'll make a note. Thank you. Okay, so just to confirm, voting members here present. So please can voting members in the room please show their hand or respond verbally when their name is called out. So, hi, I'm here. Councillor Cassandra Brown, the chair. Councillor Rachel Bentley.
Here and a voting member.
Councillor Margie Newlands.
I am Councillor Margie Newlands and I'm here and a member of the Commission. Thank you.
Councillor John Hartley.
That's me.
Great. Martin Bracknell.
Martin Bracknell, Darcy of Southwark, voting member.
Ali Callan. Excellent. And Mana Cargabo.
I'm here, voting member.
Excellent. Okay, so on to agenda item 2, which is... Oh. You're crossed out on my sheet. That's because you gave apologies, but you're now here. Is that right? Thank you very much for rescinding your apologies and joining us.
Yusuf Hussain, present and a voting member.
Wonderful. Thank you. So on to agenda item 2, notification of any items of business which the chair deems urgent. There are no items of business that are urgent that have crossed my desk, so I think we can move on. Agenda item 3, disclosure of interests and dispensations. So please can any members here declare any interests or dispensations in regards to the items of business tonight. Of course, if there are none, no need. If there is a conflict, please flag it. Okay, great. Agenda item 4, minutes. Please approve the minutes from the meetings held on the 18th of November, the 4th of February and the 8th of April. So 3 sets of minutes that tonight we need to approve. And everybody approved? Approved? Wonderful. Oh, everything's going so well. Okay, agenda item 5. This is where we're getting into some of the substantive topics. So the first item on the agenda in this regard is pupil-placed planning in primary schools and its impact on secondary school admissions. So I believe I'm welcoming Alistair Smith, Director of Children's Services, and Rick Oiteneur. Lovely. the Principal Strategy Officer for Children's Services. So you've both got 10 to 15 minutes to present to the Commission, and then we'll take 15 to 20 minutes for questions. So ideally, I'd like to get through this agenda item by 10 to 8, if possible, particularly given we've started late. And of course, we've invited you here based on some of the previous topics we've looked at on this Commission in regards to kind of pupil place planning, school closures, and thinking, actually, are we looking even earlier in the school cycle, perhaps at primary schools, and what's going on there and its impact on secondary schools. So, yeah, over to you guys.
Thank you. I just make a few comments to start. Alistair Smith, Director of Children's Services. It's a really important role the council has around pupil place planning. And we've got a full report here today. Rick is got many years' experience and depth of knowledge in this area, both with Southwark Council and other councils. The council has, though, limited powers in relation to what it can, very limited powers, it can do about that. And you're right, Chair, that there have been significant changes in the primary area. We do expect there to be an impact in the secondary area, which is set out in detail in the report. So I don't think Rick will spend lots of time repeating that. So we won't take up the full allocation, but we're here to be as helpful as we can and answer any questions about that, about how that is a little bit different to how we expect that in secondary.
So the report was written with a mind to looking at what the effect of the drop-in roles on secondary from the drop-in roles in primary, and as it's, you would assume that a drop in primary would automatically mean a drop in secondary, but it's slightly more complicated than that. We have approximately 10% of our primary pupils in Southwark who do not live in Southwark. They come from a wide variety of boroughs, mainly Lambeth and Lewisham. When we get to secondary...
Sorry, Nick, could you move the mic? You can lift, if you lift it up, it'll be closer.
Better. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right, thanks.
When we get to secondary, we still have a large number of, we still have Lewisham and Lambeth pupils, and Hamlets and Bromley and Croydon and lots of other places, but that number jumps to 30%. So what's coming in secondary that perhaps isn't coming in the number of primary pupils are a larger number of, and people do travel further for a secondary school place. And so you've got schools across the, we'll take anything anywhere between 10 and 75% of pupils from other boroughs. So it has to an extent cushioned us. What seems to have happened is when places have, if you look at the statistics, it's quite interesting. When places come free from Southwark pupils not attending a particular school, then a Lewisham or a Lambeth pupil may come in. So it's softened the blow to an extent with pupil numbers, but it's there, it's happening. People are moving away from London, and we have peaked in terms of year sevens a couple of years ago, and last year I think it would be fair to say we've peaked in terms of year 7 to 11, the compulsory age of secondary. So we've got a situation where pupil numbers are beginning to fall, not necessarily symmetrically, but across the whole of Southwark, we are projecting a number of secondary pupils. And in the report, there are numerous graphs that tell you what, you know, the number of children that are coming into year 7 and then leaving are going to go down overall. So table 5, for instance, shows you the
Sorry, just one second,
on
Nick.
page 7.
Sorry, Nick. Amit, is there any chance you could do the paper sorting outside? Sorry. Are you all done now? Wonderful. Thank you.
So if you go to it's page 7 on my report, maybe something different in your table 5, it shows you the year 7 roles, projects and capacity. purple line is the capacity, and the capacity is going down very slightly, but not as quickly as the number of pupils. And you can see that until at least 2034, projecting a drop in the number of year sevens. And yes, I mean, there's the cross-border flows have shown also that the number of applications is interesting. When I first came to Southwark, about 72% of the applications came from Southwark residents, and about 28%. That's now 62% from Southwark residents, 38% from. So as that gives you some evidence that the number of applications, the number of people coming into Southwark, and I think part of that is because we've got 20 secondary schools, 19 of which are good or outstanding. So yeah, we've got a good offer here, and we've got quite a broad offer within Southwark. So there is a school for all Southwark pupils and further and beyond. So people, in table 13, there's a net migration out of Southwark overall for. Oh, sorry, yes, on page 13 in the report. 13.
Table 13, page 30, I think.
Net flow by year 25, which is, yeah. And you can see, and what's going to happen is that this is actual people living rather than necessarily attending school in the borough, but there is a net outflow at the moment of people in Southwark moving to the sticks. So where I live, and so I think that what we're seeing here is a kind of a story that says that we are that there is a link between the drop in the number of primary pupils and the number of secondary pupils, but there are a number of different dimensions and issues that affect secondary. It's a lot more complicated than is at first sight. So I don't really want to take much more. I'd rather take your questions.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And thanks for all the data. It's good to see so many graphs. Okay, Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Rick. And yeah, I like a graph as much as the next councillor, and there were quite a few in here. So I think I have two key questions. I think when the breakdown was about the planning areas in Southwark, it's very evident that different parts of the borough have different problems with this, both at the primary and I think at the secondary level, even taking account for the kind of movement within the area and pupils coming in. So I wanted to get your perspective on that, because my reading of that was areas which have undergone substantial development, like Bankside, like Elephant and Castle, where you're kind of replacing certain types of homes with maybe luxury flats. It's not so family friendly. And I think the second one, and I'm not denying that we don't have, good and outstanding schools in Southwark, but my reading of the data of schools across London is that, we have some of the highest performing schools in the country. So I wasn't quite sure, how our performance here in Southwark stacks up against kind of neighbouring boroughs. So if you have that data, that would be helpful. If you don't, that's fine. But they're my two questions. Thank you.
So the first thing, we do planning for secondary on a borough-wide basis because the number of schools involved, if we have to split the 20 schools by 5 planning areas, there'd be 3 or 4 schools per planning area, which would reduce the accuracy of the roles. And it's also, people will commute a lot further. So there's actually a concentration of schools in planning area 1, Borough Bank, primary planning area 1, Borough, Bankside and Walworth. And, the roles there aren't catastrophically bad because people will think, oh, I'd like to go to Arc Walworth, or I'd like to go to this school. They would, they will travel a distance. So I think to break Southwark down into pieces of secondary, have thought about this, about whether that. But at the moment, I think the issue for us is looking at secondary rather than saying that something's specific to a geographical area. And yes, I mean, I've got the figures to hand, and I'm more than happy to arm it with figures about the performance. Yes, we've got some schools, got one school, got 1% value added, so it's not, in a leafy area. It's a school that's doing very well, bringing children from here to there. So, yeah, we do have, and I'm proud to work for a borough that's got where the schools add value to the pupils, and we get great outcomes as regards the demographics.
Can I say that very quickly? In direct comparison to our immediate neighbours, Lambeth and Lewisham, our schools certainly are better performing than those. And I was talking to a head teacher of that school very recently. That's not 1% school. It is we're talking about St Thomas. Yeah, which is one of the only 2 of the 20 schools are council maintained schools. So we're very proud of that journey of that school from one of the worst performing schools in the country, top 10 performing schools at St Thomas Stack. And it is absolutely outstanding. And I was talking to the head teacher there very recently, who noted that when they move out of borough, families move out, they are keen to continue to travel. So even if they go into Kent or for whatever reason that family has moved, they will still travel long distances to schools. I think that's a kind of a proxy indicator why I think of the schools.
Thank you. Councillor Hartley?
Chair. So I'm looking in particular at table 14, but I think it would be helpful to go through this one. And it's equally you might think there's a more appropriate one to tell the story for us here, but I thought 14 gave us a good idea of what's likely to happen in the long term and what Southwark's looking to be planning for in terms of secondary provision over the next decade plus. Is that a good enough?
This graph is actually the population rather than the pupil number. So,
So it ignores the bit we see in previous graph.
So this is one of the many drivers to the numbers of pupils is the population, but then obviously we've got to take 30% of the schools that come from Lewisham, Lambeth, Croydon, Bromley, so on and so forth in. But our own 11-year-olds our own 11 to 16-year-olds. So the blue blocks are the number of 11-year-olds. There's the axis on there, right? And
that's true for the total as well.
Yeah. So you could.
Sorry, can I get the question?
Yeah, sure.
Is the red line covering our pupils total over time in secondary schools as predicted?
It's the red line covers the number of 11 to 16-year-old children who may be going to school in Southwark, they may be going to school at Dulwich College, they may be going to school in Lewisham or Lambeth.
But as Southwark children, they're probably the ones we should be worrying about.
Yes.
So my question comes on to what happens next, because when I look at what's our page 31, it doesn't seem like I would find it hard to agree with Alistair's introduction that the council has a really big role in this. It seems like having done this research work, you're now essentially handing it over to all of the secondary schools to negotiate with each other on what's going to happen next. The council obviously is an interested party, but unlike primary school, mainly going to be down to the council themselves.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I was just getting going, and then in law we've got legal responsibilities around, and they're effective in primary. Really, our hands are tied in relation to the secondary. Yeah, but I take the point there. Absolutely, Councillor Hartley.
And also the Children and Wellbeing Bill has a greater role for councils in place planning and in decision making as regards previously if an academy wanted to do something, they could do things more or less at will. We are going to be an active partner in that going forward, if the bill passes, of course.
And presumably we would then wait on process that was.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the changes is the Office of the Schools Adjudicator gets involved, where presently now this is a decision from the Regional Schools Director. So it creates a kind of level playing field for the community schools and academy.
But this is essentially something that the secondary schools themselves or their academies are going to be having the discussions on to decide. Yeah, obviously we've seen the Harris Peck and the other reductions going to be coming from the schools as they agree it. What's the process if they've done?
I mean, there is at the moment very little, but in going forward, I can see, it depends, it's a political thing with a small and a big P. It depends whether or not some pressure is being brought to bear. I know in other authorities, the RSD, the Regional Schools Director, has lent very heavily on that. So you need to remove this provision because it's not salaried, as it were. So, whether that's replicated, I'd much rather do things by negotiation. And I think we've got enough evidence to show that approach is, we had a seminar last year and we're repeating that this year with Mats to say, this is the information, you may wish to take action based on that information. We've had some good engagement with regards to that.
Councillor Newlands?
Thank you very much, Chair. I was going to start actually with a comment because I appreciate entirely why all this is absolutely rightly focused on our state schools. However, there is, I think it's the appendix 2 in the first paper, it says list of secondary schools in Southwark by ward. And actually, I just think it's helpful if it says list of state secondary schools, because otherwise, I mean, I have one in Dulwich Village, there's one in Dulwich Village Ward, which is an independent school, another one in Dulwich Wood Ward, another one in Goose Green Ward. And that's, yeah, anyway, there's quite a lot of kids involved in that as well. Obviously, also bringing children in from outside the borough. So I just think, it's that makes it sort of, especially if someone is looking from outside, that makes it easier. I was going to ask, I mean, obviously, and in a sense, Councillor Hartley's touched on some of these, well, similar thing, but it's also very much in my mind. And, we can look down the list there and see certainly there's one secondary school which has a very large and is actually increasing and has told everybody that that's its plan. And we're also in the independent sector as well, actually, where in the past, over the course of the past like 5 or 6 years, we've had some of the junior provision or indeed secondary provision, and we have dutifully rubber stamped those as a council without perhaps fully appreciating the impact that could have later on the state sector. And obviously, because then none of these are local authority schools, then it's probably more concerned about that in the primary sector than the secondary sector. But here, we're going to be in a situation where, if we have a particular secondary that is able to sort of grow like a cuckoo in a nest and push everybody out, then we also then there's a problem with the provision that we're able to sort of provide for residents. We then are obviously going to have to potentially be travelling further. I mean, sorry, that was a very long preamble. I apologise for that. But I mean, this is a real concern. Please comment. I mean, I'm just, I don't know if there is anything that you foresee that we could do about that, for example, on the planning side, or, what can we do about it? Because you could ultimately have a situation where a school in the north of the borough is squashed out while one in the south of the borough is sort of trebling in size.
So there are a number of issues you've touched on. I'll respond to some of them, and Rick pick me up if I didn't if I missed any of them out. Historically, particularly with the advent of free schools, for example, the council wasn't allowed to impact decision making. That was government decision making, and it had the impact of undermining pupil role in other schools. As I think the Commission knows, because it's been here before, schools are funded on a per pupil basis. And if there's a freedom for one school to open down the road, council can object to it, and historically it has objected to that, but the DfE has allowed that to happen, and that has weakened some schools in the surrounding. That's outside the powers of the council. In terms of when schools want to expand, so they're required to consult on their pupil admission number, and certainly the council has contributed to those consultations, and has recently, and a fairly recent expansion has been quite critical about that, as have other schools. But we can't, we haven't got powers to. They're not. It's the DfE regional schools director who makes those decisions. Who have not been able to influence them much as we have objected to them. So, as I think those two examples illustrates, the council hasn't got the powers to manage that school system. As we would say, one of the principles of keeping education strong was that fuller schools allow schools to have more money to dedicate to the resources that are needed to give pupils the best possible education. So, really important principles around that. The system is set effectively to privilege parental choice and privilege competition between schools. The better schools survive that can manage their money more. And the council has got very limited powers in terms of how it can manage that system. So I think that we would think from an officer's perspective, it would be more the benefit of children if we had more powers to try to manage that. And they'll be done in the right way, proper control, proper consultation, fairness to everyone, to allow maximum pupils benefit. Because the idea that one school can unilaterally say we want to expand and get bigger, that has an impact on other schools, doesn't seem the best way to manage, public resources. Have I missed anything out there?
I think the only other thing I wanted to bring up was about private schools, not private secondary schools, not that many private primary schools, and they're a fixture within. We don't have a huge amount of Southwark pupils going there, and they haven't changed enormously. They have gone up. So this there is a myth that all these schools are closing down because of crazy. We've seen about a 200 increase over the last few years in the number of children going to Hallayton's, Jags, College and Dulwich Prep, so which make up the vast majority of, and they're all in one particular area. Also, I think they are a fixture, but for planning purposes, the effect is slight.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else get any questions? No. Just one from me, and then I think we can close out this agenda. Right? Oh, I'm so sorry, Martin. I didn't even put my hand up. So yes, please go.
As to first of all, may I say, because I didn't know on education dealing with other boroughs, though initially it was a bit choppy in Southwark, I would like to say working very well with Southwark. I won't say the boroughs were having a great. You came to the table first, and we discussed it, and we are moving along together. Number two, obviously on the planning going forward, are you looking first of all at primary year by year, or are you trying to look ahead 3 or 4 years to see if schools have got to merge or close on the primary side? The secondary side, you already know that's because you've got the 3 schools as well. Obviously, it's down to them. Do you think you would have greater influence? And are you meeting with the MATs and the 3 schools as well? Because it could well be that the 3 schools have to go into a MAT or they have to close. In some areas, it's going to be moved.
So I'll take both those questions. Firstly, around are we going year by year? We're not. The Keeping Education Strong was a strategy. We are hopeful that will be no school closures. Not guaranteed that. What we hope is that it's a year of consolidation where we do look to, and we have those conversations. We say, we can see you can survive next 2-3 years, but we need to be thinking. Again, councils are limited in terms of some of their powers because we would rather that governing bodies work together to see some of that, make those decisions collaboratively, rather than at a later stage, council has to get involved and those can appear more some prudent decisions. And actually, we want a much longer run around how we work with those schools. We do have an open process, risk assessment process that's happening as we speak, where every school has a letter from us about the risks around pupil role, around finance, so that it's open with schools. We have around the secondary and multi-academy trusts and schools. I go back to what Rick described previously, where we last year and again this year we're planning a seminar with Mats and with 3 schools. Like that, we set the forum ready for those detailed discussions. And last year, what arose out of that is the diocese are invited as well, both the Catholic and the SDBE, and they don't solve problems in the room, but it certainly sets the context for that. Yep, our planning department are there, so they can ask questions about what the plans are for different areas. That's off a number of different conversations that that those different bodies found helpful. And for example, and it's in the report, Southwark Academy University, the changes happening there. They were certainly the relationships they have with us. We've been talking at school, and they're actually making those changes in consideration of the whole economy in the how it's working for other schools. So we are the council. We absolutely want to continue our role to influence, bring people together, and to push things along without being able to.
Thank you. Right, I've got 2 more questions and then we'll close this item. So, Mana?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for the job you're doing. I'm somewhat concerned about the drop in people in schools, both primary and secondary schools. Don't you think that the council is also, especially the housing department, is also contributing to that drop? Because I know some people in schools that the council has deliberately placed them in another borough, like for instance, a school in Peckham. The parent, they moved them to Enfield and Croydon and other boroughs. Don't you think that that is also having a huge impact on the dropping numbers, which I think the council should look at also?
I mean, we can't comment on what the housing department do. I'm sorry. I mean, we do recognise that can. I would say that the drop in pupil numbers is a number of different factors.
It's one of the factors.
One of the factors. It's about Brexit. It's about cost of living. Nationally and internationally, people are having less children. And touch on about that the nature of housing in the borough has changed. The cost and the rise of temperature having impact. Speak for.
Interesting idea, though. Thank you. Alec.
Yes, thank you very much for the work that you are doing. Very much impressed. The question is, in terms of the plan you are making, is this a generic plan you are making for both primary school and secondary school in terms of year age, year group?
I think, we take each year as it comes, but we've got a 5 or 10 year horizon. We look at the VFE every year. We fill out a form called GAP, for basically a horizon scanning document that asks us to say what's going on, where are the over or undersupplied places, what are we doing about it? That's the sort of things that we are required to do, and that's part of our every year you get a pupil place plan review which kind of explores those details going forward 5 years. Mainly driven by the GLA's pupil. We have, we've got short, medium, kind of views for all of this, and we have to plan with all of those. If there's a sudden dramatic drop at us, we've got to decide what to do for us and increase. We've got to take sufficient action where that occurs. We had an occasion in 2016 where we were projecting a shortage of secondary places. I had to think about that. But we then, what we did was we immediately, I think 9 schools we approached and said, can you take a full class? And it worked. And so that particular cloud passed over us and that went forward.
Thanks very much. So I think what we were kind of asking tonight is whether there are falling school places in primary schools, and therefore is that having an impact on secondary school places? It sounds like the answer is a bit, but there's more to it than that. I think what I've taken from the conversation is that the council has limited powers to do a lot about this, but we would like more powers, and that's perhaps something the council can do in trying to get more powers to do something about it. So I don't feel like we've gotten a huge amount of recommendations from this, but any final comments if you disagree?
Yeah, to pick up on the last comment, I think the way to think about it is that the council cares about the place. Think about the word place, and being able to manage a local system for the benefit of local children and local residents would seem a sensible power for councils to have, that it must treat any power it has fairly and sensibly. Whereas, for example, an academy might have schools in several different boroughs, and actually wants to give the best education it can, absolutely, to children in that academy, but it might be thinking less as a whole, as a multi-academy trust of the borough, when we think of all the issues within the borough, our SEND provision in the borough, with our the children who need alternative provision. So that's the reason we would want to have those powers, to try to manage that for the benefit of all pupils, not because we want to control a system or go back to the way a local education authority works. That isn't what we want to do. I just want to manage it in that way. Final comment is to just thank Martin for your words about the how we've worked with the SDB and the diocese, particularly because it's not easy territory to work in this, and it's about relationships and it's about honesty and the different perspectives always. But we do try to work in a very collaborative way as much as we can, and agreement's not always possible. But we want, hopefully, you've conveyed that sense that even though that secondary school system is it's not out of our control, but it's not without outside our influence. They are our children from our family. We really want that.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really helpful to have those parting comments. All right, thank you both. Okay, so next we're on to agenda item 6, which is the traders from East Street Market. If you'd like to come forward so that we can have a chat with you if you are here. You are. Great. Welcome. So I believe we've got Kerry Adams and Felix Badu with us tonight, which is great. So thanks so much for joining us. We have had quite a few sessions with an East Street Market theme over the last couple of years, which is great. But I think tonight what we really wanted to do is hear directly from the traders themselves, because we've heard from kind of market organisers and others outside of that body. But yeah, we thought it'd be worth hearing your experience as well as we kind of bring this theme to an end on East Street Market and hopefully provide some final recommendations to the Cabinet. So yes, over to you both in terms of an overview of, I guess, your experience of being a market trader and how we might be able to improve things. / shop owners, I should be clear about that.
I'm Kerry Adams. I'm a shop owner in East Street Market. My family have been trading in East Street for 38 years. I know. So yeah, it's a very long time. So rather than go back to the good old days, because I know everything's changed markets, we've had quite a lot of decline over more recent years. Although it's still, in times it's still a thriving market, it's lost its buzz, if you like, and its appearance to people is no longer what people want to see. It's quite, it could really have some cleaning up of the Street Market. Like I say, I've been trading for, well, my family have been trading for 38 years, and I'm not going to sit here and say, it's a terrible market or anything like that, but it just has lost its way. We've been working very hard on rebranding it, and we have got some of that in place, but it's quite a slow process. Things like gazebos and stuff. We've had some that have come in and just been trialled, but I mean, I feel like we've been talking about gazebos for like 2 years now. It seems such a long time before anything gets implemented, and in that time, customers are falling away and trying other things. I know online is quite big business these days, and we're trying to implement Wi-Fi. Again, I feel like I've been talking about Wi-Fi for some time. So it's just about really getting these things in place and getting us back up to, 21st century off markets, really. There's place for markets in the future, but we just need to be, where we are in 2025. It also needs quite a lot of cleaning up, I think. It's quite a dirty market now. We do have quite a lot of issues with antisocial behaviour and mental health. We have a lockup just by us where I've reported it to the council and to the police. I've been to police meetings where we have quite a lot of drug users in the market. That's really, really high at the moment. And that puts people off. There's pickpocketing, there's people shouting out and bad language and things, and that puts people off at the market too.
I'm Felix Badu, co-chair of the Tourist Association in East Street Market. Like Kerry said, even before COVID, the footfall in the market has been really going down. And since COVID, it's been really bad. And it's been very difficult for the shop owners to actually pay their rent. And they've come to the council about rent reduction, electricity bills, and all sorts. And the bills are mounting, but the footfall is really reducing. And despite the social issues in the market, like Kerry said, the antisocial behavior, and that's not the main, is part of the reason. But what's happening is the shortage of customers coming into the market. And what's been coming up every time we go to meetings is parking. That I'll come to that later. Branding, we would need to complete that. We've done that, like Kerry said, 2 years running in terms of how to rebrand the market to increase the footfall. So the stage we are at now is to get signage from the Walworth Road area, the new Elephant Park regeneration area, for the young Gen Z to know that there's a market near them. When people are doing their shopping online, there is a vibrant market called East Street, which is no longer vibrant, but as members of the market or traders and shop owners, we like to make it vibrant and bring it back to its former glory. So for that, we've been talking about resurfacing the street in the market and the pavement areas. So if that is done brand new, it would actually solve the cleanliness problem, and then we can actually get the shop owners and the traders to keep the cleanliness after the resurfacing of the market and pavements redone. A few weeks ago, the electric lampposts have been repainted with some lovely colors. It's just the lamppost, but it's brought a bit of change. And we thought, oh, something is happening. But there's been a lot of talk shop going on for so long, but nothing has happened. Seeing the lamppost being painted and the, I would say, 20 years of same Christmas light on the lamppost has been brought down.
I
We
think
would like that
we
change.
would really like to see a real visual change,
Yes,
because I think what's happened is over the years, sorry to interrupt, but what's happened over the years with the traders and the shop owners as well, we've talked about it, it gets talked about, it gets promised, and we don't get it, and everyone's like, well, not that again, we're not going to get that. We need to see a visual change in the market, so that we can get other people on board with making East Street great again.
Yes. So
Nice
with that,
tagline.
we're planning to have a business hub in the market. That would help with, like, what I would term communication center for people who haven't got that facilities, especially the traders who would not actually wait at home to send letters to their suppliers. They don't have the, few of them are not really educated in terms of getting onto their emails and doing all sorts of things. And most things are done online now. So there will be somebody at the communication center who can actually do their ordering for them. They come in the morning, give their instructions to the communication center, and all this will be done for them. By the time they finish, if it's free, that will be brilliant. If there's a fee charge, that will be okay. But we need funding for that business hub, which is now on the drawing board to be located behind the current toilet facilities, where it's a storage area on Portland Street. And we also like a sitting area for customers coming in, especially the elderly who actually get tired walking from one end to the other. My shop, for instance, there we had chairs, and we do offer free teas and coffees. I believe Kerry does that as well. So we will need a place like that. This for the market, where there's a sitting area. There'll be a food area, like outdoor food court, where towards the end of the market, like the nursery row, we need funding for that, so that we can get customers, after walking few distance within the market, they can stop, eat, drink, and have live music or something of sort. Yeah, that would be good. So
We're trying to make people spend a bit more time in the market, because
Yeah.
sometimes we do have a lot of elderly customers, and sometimes, if there's no seats, they just come to one place, get what they needed that day, and then they're off again. Whereas we're hoping to create somewhere where they could come, have a pit stop, if you like, and then maybe visit somewhere different in the market, or spend a bit more time in the market and spend more money ultimately.
yeah, with the rest area, we would also like funding for a second toilet. The one we have in the market now is nothing to write home about. But if we have a funding for a new toilet facility, like on the nursery row area, the park at the end of the market, very clean, nice, modern toilet facility for the customers and traders. There's one there now, but it's always closed. If we can get started to fund an attendant to be there till 6:30, but like 4 o'clock is closed. And if it's not closed, there's repair work going on.
And sometimes the men's toilet is often closed,
Yeah.
and the men go in the women's, and that's quite uncomfortable for a lot of women,
Yeah.
that you're in the toilets. And I know some toilets are but
Yeah.
we've got two
Especially
separate
with
toilets. We've got a lot of antisocial behaviour as well, so if you're getting a lot of people in, I think there's only 3 cubicles in the ladies' toilets, it can be quite frightening.
And also with the some religion, like Muslims don't like to see the men coming into their toilet, the women don't want men coming in. So that would be good to have a new toilet facility, and making sure the whole market is brand new, basically, to attract the young ones coming to the new Elephant Park regeneration area, and then the Burgess Park end. And I also spoke about the signage. So if we get funding for signage from the Burgess Park end, Elephant Park end, Warwick Road, and the Old Kent Road end, so we can get signage that we need desperately to complete our branding program at the moment.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And you also said you'd come back to an issue around parking.
Yes.
Did you want to touch on that as we
The
move to
parking is
questions?
the main issue. Yes. We need 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, you know, thinking outside of the, you know, we're not trying to get anything that's not going to work even. So we're not asking for like all day free parking. We know that's not going to work. However, the cost of parking in East Street, I could probably park in the West End cheaper. It's 2 hours is something like £12. It's probably not that here. So, and I get it that, you know, if we have free parking all day long, people will just park there and leave their cars. I understand that people might commute up to town. So we were hoping for something like 2 hours free parking with a no return, because that will give people enough time to come and spend time and money in the market. Because if you can't park, and like I say, there's a lot of elderly people, they can't carry heavy shopping either. You know, that they're going to go elsewhere. They're going to go to, you know, shopping centres where it's free parking and things like that. I know that we've got really good links and we've been told, you know, we're trying to be environmentally friendly. I understand that. But we have got to cater for everyone. And I get a lot of customers that travel quite far. So it might be 2 or 3 changes on a train or a bus. You know, it's not like they're just coming around the corner on the 176. So maybe like a 2 hour parking slot, if we could have a trial of 2 hour parking, and that could be measured. I think that would have a massive impact on people coming into that market.
Yeah.
Definitely.
To conclude on that, we have 5 schools running the street market. Further on is the John Rasky one, and all those parents, most of them do pick up their kids and some come with cars. If we have like evening parking free from 4:30 to 6:30, parents can wait and shop, because that Monday to Friday, weekends already is free in Southwark. So Monday to Friday, if the council can do feasibility studies on which times that are good for the market, and if the answer comes back yes, hooray, we'll be happy. If it's no, we'd like to know why it's no, because obviously you would speak to the residents in the area. The residents have estate parking, whereas customers coming in don't have any parking, and the price for parking is really high.
It is very high.
So we like that feasibility studies done before the council says no, because all the time we talk about parking, the answer
We
is
get
no.
shut down very quickly.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for that overview. That's really helpful. We need to make sure we've got enough time to ask you guys some questions, really dig into some of this stuff. So thank you. I think a lot of what you've said overlaps with some of what we've heard previously from others from East Street Market who've come, which is good because it reinforces the need. Some of what you've said kind of feels like more business as usual things that perhaps the council should just be getting on with, whether that's resurfacing roads, making sure it's kind of clean, but then also looking to attract Gen Z customers. So there's quite a range of things here and lots of fun suggestions. Okay, all right. Councillor Newens.
Sorry, I forgot to add the solar panels that we discussed at the scrutiny meeting last.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Hartley and then Councillor Bentley.
Thank you very much. So this is my first meeting of the commission, so I don't know what has been said by the East Street traders in previous sessions. Really interested in the and about online shopping. And obviously I'm conscious that across the borough, certainly might, so on Council of Dulwich Village, with something very much very different place, but nevertheless it's also, you know, which we are fairly sure has quite a one footfall. I mean, I would love to hear more about your experience, your views, your feelings about how that impacts goes on, footfall on East Street.
Yeah, I mean, I think markets in general have changed since Sunday opening hours, online shopping. but it doesn't mean there isn't a place for them. I've got a lingerie shop, so I'm a bra fitter. So I don't mind noting, I hate online shopping. Absolutely detest it. It's killing high streets. But not only that, I go shopping and I want to feel a product. I want to see a product. If it's food, I want to smell a product. Um, so, but there are things that are putting people off coming to the market that would still come into the market for non-online shopping. So, like I say, for me, I'm a bra fitter. People want to come in and be fitted in a bra. So I've still got. I mean, I do 95% of my business without online. But the factors that we're talking about here, filthiness of the market and things, they're putting people off coming to East Street Market. So is that what you meant? Or
yeah, thank you. I mean, I suppose also, I mean, you mentioned Gen Z. I'm guessing that you and I may be a similar sort of age, just about. And I'm conscious that, likewise, I never buy online, but I think it is probably generational. So therefore, I suppose then the question would be what you can do to bring Gen Z in.
Well, I think also with the Gen Z, I think that's a lot to do with the Wi-Fi as well, because we want to encourage people to come in, use Wi-Fi when they're in the market and what have you. But I get a range of customers, not just my age, but a lot of younger ones as well, because I think people are, especially with social media out there, they're more conscious of body health, things like that. And bra fitting for me is about health of how you wear your bra and people, how you look and feel comfortable. So I still get a lot of younger clients as well, but they, sometimes you do hear that their mums are trying to bring them down for a bra fit, if you like, and they're like, I ain't going East Street Market for my bra. I'm not going East Street. I'm not for anything. How much further have I got to walk in East Street Market until I find your friend's shop, as they say to their mum? So they will come without online, but it's just making it more appealing to them.
So for me, been in the market, had a fish and chip shop since 2006, and had to change the fish and chip shop. And prior to COVID, people would come and queue up every Friday. Your mom was eating in my fish and chip shop, and all the customers. All of a sudden, we don't see young people coming in anymore. So now they're going to eat. There are a few coffee shops on the main Warwick Road. When Warwick Road was changed, like 10 years, a decade ago, you will see the Gen Z going in to have teas and coffees. Even now at Liverpool Grove, there are gazebos coming up at Liverpool Grove, and you see the Gen Zs going in there. They see a clean, lovely gazebo with signage and lovely products displayed. They would definitely go. They go online, they see what's happening in the area, what is he offering, and the Gen Z would go. But East Street is declining. What the market management is not doing is not allowing new products to come to the market as it used to be. Previously, somebody selling trainers, the next 6 stores will be before you can find trainers. But now it's like in the middle market, it's all fruits and veg. The Gen Z look at it online, or someone visits the market, they put it online straight away. Not a place to go. Went there yesterday, not very nice. And they do their shorthand writing on the iPhone, and straight away it goes viral. We want to change that. If we have free Wi-Fi in the market is clean, the product on offer is variety, and they write up about the market from their own type, visiting the market, it would come back to what it is. Because the Gen Z would like to go out Saturdays and shop. They like to go up, even if they're working out from home, they go out during lunchtime and see what's happening in their area and take a walk. But if the market is smelly, not clean, antisocial behavior, the Gen Z will not go. They like clean, smart areas. They go to Barrow Market, they go to Stockwell, Oval, to buy organic fruit and veg on the weekends. Why not East Street, next door to them? The whole new generation region area, Elephant Park, is full of young people, foreigners and English people alike. But they don't visit us. Why? That's what we want to do with the branding. So we need quick funding.
And maybe with a business hub, we could, we're hoping to get like website up. But I mean, most people, or most traders in the market, I can't say for all, but I probably would guess that majority, we're not that skill set. We're not those youngsters that quickly on And so with a business hub, that would really help a lot of traders because we're not from that era. A lot of businesses are usually with market traders, they're passed down from generations to generations. And, you know, social media skills is probably not one of our finest points of most traders in the market. So with a business hub that, you know, we could get some education there and around that would really be helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Hartley.
So forgive me, like Councillor, the last discussion street market, and my ward is a good way south from cycling through it, and I haven't noticed the declining footfall. It was still quite a busy place to me. But obviously appreciate that as traders you've got presumably facts and figures to back up those issues in terms of trading process. My apologies, Chair, if you covered this in the last meeting, but I'm really unclear from the last meeting how this strategy envisages things like solar panels or band or parking. Seem like there's quite all.
Councillor Hartley, microphone, please. If you could speak a bit closer. Thank you.
Toilets, as you were describing earlier, all seem like quite sizable investments for the East Street market. Is the plan that money is then slowly brought back in through the cost of trading licenses? I'm unclear what this way forward is likely to be costing either the council or whether the council's investing, and the idea is that through increased trade, the traders will be paying more back.
From my understanding, there is 140,000 capital as a grant, public realm grant, which is being used at the moment. We've used a considerable amount of that for new gazebos for the traders. It's not completed yet because some of the traders cannot work with the gazebo because they need a bigger space. So gazebo is about 3x3 or 3x6, and some of the traders need more than that. So they would have to build their own kiosks or gazebo to fit into the products they're offering. So we need, if we have to give them money to do it, or they will use their own money, and then the painting to bring the market into uniform gazebo colors, then obviously we need money for that. But at the moment, we've used some of the 140,000 for branding, which is almost done. So we need more money for the signage from the areas that I've been pointed before, Walworth Road and Woodkent Road, Peggy's Park, and the new Elephant Park. But how much we need, our friend who is Lyndon, he has all the facts and figures. He's not here at the moment because he had another meeting. So we can provide that at a later date.
The Wi-Fi, they were separate funds, 30,000.
30,000, yes.
Yeah, I think it's 30,000. We've had some funding.
It's all got grants.
Yeah, cool.
So, I mean, as a specific, the Wi-Fi was going to be my meaning to be facetious at all, but if we're looking to attract new young people to East Street, what do they need Wi-Fi for?
Well, firstly, the traders could benefit from Wi-Fi for the paying on the visa. So it was that as well. Two, we want people to spend more time in the market. So not necessarily just the youngsters, but, you know, all generations that, you know, if they sat down, they can ponder. Most people want to get a bit free Wi-Fi. Most people are on data. I mean, I'm all inclusive, but I mean, I notice a lot of the time, whenever you walk in, some of this is that free Wi-Fi password or what have you. You know, to maybe encourage people to come, spend a bit of time, log on to free Wi-Fi and benefit from that, that would be helpful. But two, it was also for the market traders, so that they could do their paying on the Wi-Fi as well.
What we found out is the Gen Z people that have expensive phones that they pay monthly, but they don't have a lot of data. So when they go to airports, they want free data. When they go to shopping centers, they switch to free data. So we think free data from what we gathered would help them coming out. Not all of them have unlimited data. The phones are very expensive, pay £100 to be phone, but data probably 150 gig, and that's it. So they want free data wherever they go. And we think that will bring them in. They can relax, get free data, go around the market, the smart coffee shops. So that.
Well, I wouldn't pretend to be an expert, but I wonder whether all of those using Wi-Fi were much more required just 2, 3, 5 years ago than they are now. Most people I know these days have pretty cheap, all-inclusive data packages, and I wonder whether it's a good spend of your money. Market traders themselves obviously can have unlimited data packages and use some of the high-tech card processes. I can see with a number of these proposals, like things like night markets, delivering to local homes, that all sounds like a fantastic way of expanding the current operation in the market. We as a committee, as the chair was explaining earlier, are not in a position to say yes or no to any of this. I would have to say that I am sceptical it would be a great expansion in the capacity of parking, given the nature of the Walworth Road. It's got a lot of extra capacity on it.
We're not asking for extra capacity. We're asking for, we've got a lot of parking places around there, but it's very expensive. So we're asking for a limited amount of time for people to park there free during their shopping, during trading days and hours, that they could park for a limited amount of time so that they could come into the market and spend some money.
On the parking point, I know that members of the Commission have previously suggested that we look at the impact of parking changes and limited parking options on market traders and shop owners. So that may be something that we look at as a bigger topic, and we'll come to that when we get onto the work programme agenda item. I've got 2 other questions in the queue. I am going to interject briefly. I'm interested in one of the points you raised around the Gen Z conversation. So I think that John's raised some really good points, and I agree. The bit that really stuck out for me was, I think it was you, I don't know if it was you, Kerry, who said about market managers not allowing new products to come into the market. Sorry, Felix, was it you?
Yeah.
It was you, Felix. Yeah. What do you mean they're not allowing new products into the market? Can you talk about that a bit more? What's stopping that from happening?
Not allowing new products to the market is like, we had a meeting a few weeks ago, and what came up is there are traders who want to come to the market with variety of products, but the daily charge is not worth their while. They charge £42 per day. They get the barrel brought in for £6. The barrel boys charge money to plug in electric on the store is £10. So it does mount up. If you come in as a trial and you're spending like close to £100 a day, and your sales is nothing to take home, then obviously you wouldn't want to come 2-3 days to actually have a trial run in the market if the pitch is so expensive. So those newcomers are not shy away from the market, and people who are coming in more are the fruit and veg, because they go to with the Naniums, get whatever. It's not like the best quality fruit and veg they are bringing in, and they are prepared to pay any amount because their brothers or cousins and friends are there already. Tell them, oh, come and help me. So somebody has 1 or 2 stores selling fruit and veg, adds more stores, fruit and veg, and their family are helping them. There's no room for new people coming in because they are not prepared to pay the amount, daily amounts. What we asking the council to do is to give free run, like a week trial with new products, maybe 10 traders a week. From my shop, 118 East Street, to the Door Street end is always empty. Why can't the council bring new traders in there to get footfall from the front of the market, Walworth Road end, to the Door Street end, whereby they can be there free for a week or 2? When they realize the customers are going down that way and they are selling without paying any rent for 1 week or 2, they will think twice and come in, because most street traders are really financial savvy. They know what they are doing, and if they can make money, they would come back. But if they are paying too much for daily, like a whole week you spend 300, 500 pounds and you don't take home 200 pounds, you will not come
Sure.
back.
Yeah, no, that's really insightful. Thank you. And I know we've done that in other markets, like in the Blue Market, in my ward in South Bermondsey, very much run through the bid as opposed to the council. They're quite autonomous for that. But yeah, really interesting suggestion. Thank you. Okay, all right, back to the queue. So Councillor Bentley.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you. And unlike some of the members of the Commission, I have been here on the panel for 3 years. So I've heard submissions from these street traders. I think now this is the third time. And I feel your sense of frustration with your comments around the speed of action, because some of your requests have been very clear, deliverable, and I think based on clear market research with your customers and your traders. So it's frustrating to hear that you're still struggling with these. I have 2 points of clarification that I want around this parking business, which is really a hot topic. Is there free parking on the weekend? Is it so? Okay, so on the weekend, people can come in and park, whether they are traders or customers. And that is not limited. Okay, thank you. And I guess the question, which I'll get to, is do you see that having an impact? And then the second point was about this ASB and antisocial behaviour. And obviously, we all know that you had that really awful incident last year, I think it was. Do you have the community wardens, or is there any element of private security, or is that just not really the vibe that you want, and maybe not customers?
Okay, I'll start with parking. Yes, Saturday. I mean, I don't trade on a Sunday, but Saturday and Sunday is free parking. Yes, it does make a difference to our sales. Saturdays is probably always going to be a busy day because it's usually people's weekends. But as traders, shop owners or store holders, we can't rely on one day a week, really. So I don't know if this gentleman only comes maybe through the weekend. I don't know, but I was going to say because in the week, weekdays is a lot less. If you did come down East Street on a Saturday, there is a buzz. There is a buzz down East Street on a Saturday. Certainly a lot more than the weekdays. So but as traders, we can't rely on one day a week to take all our money, if you like. Monday the market's closed anyway. So Tuesday to Friday, a couple of hours free to encourage people to come down and spend a bit more money. And I'm not saying no one walks down the market, because you have got great transport links in Walworth Road. I always say you can get to Timbuktu from Walworth Road if you really wanted to. But it's about carrying the shopping. Not everyone is able to get on. My mum's she's 86. She certainly couldn't get on a bus and come down to East Street Market.
And on the security point?
Security, we did have a terrible incident last year where there was fatal stabbings. It did put people off coming. A lot of my lady customers were like, "Oh, I haven't been down here. I'm frightened to come down here." It did put a lot of people off. It was heartbreaking. There was an increase of the wardens in the red jackets. There was a increase of that. We do now see. I usually see a couple of police officers, in the blue uniforms, on a daily basis. They tend to walk up and chat to some of the traders. So yes, I have seen an increase of that. There's no private security in East Street Market. With the wardens, I have witnessed myself where I watched someone steal something from the store in front of me. The warden was there. I pointed it out. I was like, "There he is." And I don't blame anyone for not wanting to confront people. I don't know what their powers. Well, I don't think their powers are the same. And I was like, literally, that's the person that I've just witnessed, that nothing got done on that occasion. It's a little bit hit and miss. So sometimes I see it's a bit feast and famine. Sometimes I see quite a few wardens, and then other times I don't see any. So
There's a problem with security because we had meetings with the police.
Yes.
And what we require is if we can have more police presence, because you will see a couple in the morning and then a couple in the evening. If like every hour or two with the city police going and out, because nobody.
They're not all day.
Yeah.
Once a day I see them. Yeah.
Let's say shoplifters or the antisocial behavior. Police will, if the police are there, it would happen. But the traffic, the public council wardens, nobody cares. And we would actually need more police, with, patrolling the market.
Yeah, I mean, with the council wardens, they do. I have noticed that they do interact with people, but I wouldn't say that they deal with the safety element. A few weeks ago, probably a couple of months ago, I was looking to Colin, probably a couple of months now, we had an incident where a lady was, I'm going to say, very high on drugs, shouting all day. I rang the police and said, enough's enough now. She's been shouting long enough. Because we have this area just in Blackwood Street where it's the garages of a block from one of the roads. It's Portland Street. There's a tower block and there's some garages. They can't lock the door because it's a fire exit, but we are aware, and the police are aware, and the council are aware that many drug users are living in there, and all day long it's a meeting point. They go out thieving, they come back, and that's where they meet and they sleep and they do drugs and have sex and what have you. And time again, the police have been called, but if they've got nothing on them at the time, I don't know if they go into the building. But now, even though it's a fire exit, I mean, literally, they knock on the door and they shout out that it's one of them, and someone else comes out and lets them into that building. Yeah, it's horrendous. And that's just, I'm 90, 88 and 90, and then there's 90 road here. And it's just relentless all day long. All day. And then we had an incident where she was in the middle of the street. She was clearly high on drugs, shouting all day, swearing, up and down, very erratic behaviour. I called the police, no one came. I called them again. And then, when the police, I think, did arrive a couple of hours later, someone, she was gone. They've gone. Then I ran back and said, she's back. Try not to come with flashing lights this time.
So that's fun social behaviour.
Yeah, there's
not enough support from
it's ridiculous.
Police
it's
at
ridiculous.
the moment.
And it started where she was pickpocketing someone. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it sounds really tough.
I think the council can get in touch with the management in the market, because there are metal doors along those these storage areas. Previously, you would see the market officers in high-vis jackets going around the market, 5 to 10 of them. And when the incident was hot last year after the stabbing, we did have a meeting with the market management. They said, it's not our job. What is not your job? We want your job description to protect customers and traders in the market or not. They said, well, it's just to collect money for the stores, and that's it. They didn't come back with the job description, but they could lock those doors on Portland Street and on Blackwood Street. Said, everybody come out, take your belongings, whatever they keep in there. Nobody should go in there. They can have serious padlocks on there, and the high street, the market officers are not in the market after 10 a.m.
Really interesting feedback last time. We talked about
council building,
having a more integrated role that can support with this, as opposed to people being so siloed and not being able to support across the broad range of issues. I'm conscious of time. We've got really just 4 minutes for the rest of this agenda item and 2 more questions. So I'd like to ask those who've already put their hands up to be really concise, please. Councillor Hussain.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation, talking us through your work. Just a couple of points from me. So I cycle, similar to Councillor Hartley, I cycle through East Street Market, and I do get a good buzz from the place. It looks quite vibrant. One of the things I do notice, and also my wife notices as well, just kind of at certain times there's a hell of a lot of rubbish like flying around, and I just wondered, kind of, how good are the market traders at kind of clearing up after themselves, and kind of is there policies or processes in place to do that? Because I think that could potentially be an easy win if market traders did clean up after themselves and kind of clean up the rubbish. And secondly, I think you mentioned in terms of not having the skill set in relation to in relation to social media and websites and stuff. Could that be a potential project that you could kind of approach a school to do, like whether it's a marketing project or someone doing their A levels or media studies? Just a thought in terms of, and that could be a good connection with a local school. Thanks.
So on the first point, so we have market cleaners, if you like, but they've got like really heavy. They push them themselves, trolleys, yeah. And there's only two guys. Yeah, they are quite old. Let's not be ageist, but no, they are quite old guys actually. And they're very heavy steel trolleys, and they collect the boxes from. They go up and down, and they collect the boxes. We now have food bins, so anything for most of the fruit and veg stalls, I think they get allocated a brown bin, and they're meant to put their food in there because now the trolleys are only for boxes. Previously, the traders, the market traders, used to get, I think it was a blue bag from the council, and any rubbish, say that they were selling clothing and you have the plastic over the top, they put their rubbish in at the end of the day, they tie the rubbish up and put it outside. That no longer gets issued. We've cut back on those. In regards to the shops, we buy stickers and bags from Southwark Council. You can get your own license. Yeah, you can take your own license with BIFA or whoever, but most people have a license with Southwark Council. We buy green stickers and bags, but we don't put our rubbish out to the end of the day when the market truck is coming, so it doesn't look dirty during the day. So that's the process. Whether that's kept to 24 hours a day or during trading hours by everyone, you know, I can't sit here and say that. But yeah, it's not just about that. It's not just about traders. It's, you know, people littering. There's no bins like you know, for litter. They're all taken away. So there's no litter bins. So if you are having a sandwich in the market, you've just bought a sandwich from Morrison's or you bought food from Greg's or what have you, there's nowhere to throw it. Where are you going to throw it? It's already dirty. Just throw it. Whereas psychologically, I'm guessing that most of the time, if you're in a clean environment, you think twice about throwing a bit of rubbish on the floor. If you're in a dirty environment, you probably do throw it.
Yeah, it can be a self-fulfilling situation, can't it? We'll have to investigate the no bin element. That seems quite strange.
I think there's one on the corner of Portland Street. Now, it used to be outside the toilets, but I think it did catch fire. So I don't know what happened to it. But now it's been moved to the corner, but that may be one bin for the whole of East.
Yeah, gotcha. We are going to have to move on. Yusuf, I know you made a recommendation around kind of approaching schools. I think it could be interesting. Feel free to share your views later. And finally, on this item, Manna.
Thank you all for the contributions you've made. Actually, it's not a question that I'm asking, but I just want to attest to some of the things you've mentioned. I live very close to East Street Market, around Up Street, to be specific, And the issue of antisocial behavior is very visible there. You can see it yourself if you are familiar with that area. There's a park just by the market. That's where the drug users go. They normally attack people, take their phone from you. I've witnessed that. Even my car, there was a time I parked my car very close there. I went to the market. By the time I come back, they break into my car. Yeah, so it's very visible, and even the attack, the stabbing there, I'm fully aware of that, and it took some time. Even my son refused to go to the market because of that. They were very frightened to go to the market. So I think we need to look into that in more details, please. Yeah.
Agreed.
On that phone thing, one of the traders who's opposite me in the market, he had his phone stolen, and he rang from another phone and they said, if you come to the park and give us £60.
Yeah.
I know. So then your day's trading is then spent on trying to just get your phone back from. Yeah, and it was in that park.
Yeah, I know the park very well.
Well, thank you so much for that. I think that was a really rich element that we haven't quite captured previously, and I'm so glad that we brought you guys in to all the perspectives that we've had on East Street Market. We did write a number of recommendations to Cabinet just a couple of months ago from last year's work plan. So what I propose we do is we go back, look at any gaps that weren't covered, that have been covered by you guys, and also hopefully you're in touch with your local councillors as well around community infrastructure levy and the potential opportunities there, because I'm sure some of that could cover this stuff as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, right. Yes, thank you so much. I think we're going to move on to the final agenda item now, which is agenda item 7, the proposed work programme for the year. And I guess what's been slightly different this year is the new scrutiny protocol, whereby cabinet members. Am I getting the name of that wrong? Okay, I missed the word cabinet out. Cabinet Scrutiny Protocol, which essentially is designed to, thank you, East Street team, thank you. It's designed to, I guess, strengthen the channels of communication between scrutiny and cabinet. There is a requirement for us to meet twice per year now to discuss potential work agenda items. And so in the last week or so, I've had the pleasure of meeting with Councillor Batterson, Councillor Ali and Councillor Mwanganje to look at the areas of their brief that are relevant to this commission. So I think on the agenda, some of those areas that came up are listed, but I am mindful that there have been other suggestions by members of this commission in recent weeks, months, if not years, including around things like parking and the impacts on local businesses. So I will run through some of these and also invite comments on these areas and indeed additional suggestions that we should be considering. Oh, damn it. You're just going to have to listen to me because this happened after the agenda was published, I'm being told, which means that what does it mean? It means that you don't have the same piece of paper that I do. So that's a very good point. But it was published a week ago online. Councillor Hartley, are you referring to myself or the officer to my left? Well.
Apologies, members. So the last meeting we had concluded on Friday, and we had printing issues this afternoon. So the cabinet member, the scrutiny chair cabinet member last meeting was on Friday.
I think this. But I think it is kind of. We see this a lot, I think, on scrutiny commissions and generally within the council. The council doesn't move quickly. So let's just make sure in future we are more agile with these things. In terms of tonight, I'm afraid all I have is this. So I'll have to just read out what I've got here. So to start with, I met with Councillor Mwanganje and we looked at, she suggested that we look at the youth offer from the council. So I think there was a feeling that perhaps we need to do some scrutiny around what that youth offer looks like and bringing it together, because currently it kind of sits across the council. There's no sort of single one place where younger people in the borough can go to find out what is on offer for them, and a suggestion to talk with representatives of schools and really understand what the young people of our borough actually want and need, which is quite interesting. In terms of carrying on from the topic of last year, which we focused quite heavily on, which was around SEND provision and the backlog around EHCPs, I think those of us who were on the commission last year discussed this too, kind of looking at the post-16 offer for SEND children. It brings together the education and the local economy side of the commission quite nicely. And certainly in the discussion I had with Councillor Ali, it seemed that there was perhaps a lack of knowledge within the council around where our 16 plus SEND people are going. Kind of, we don't have a lot of data, at least not to our fingertips. Therefore, to understand kind of how we're getting our SEND residents into good careers and living rich and fulfilling lives. We also talked about Southwark Works with Councillor Batterson, and thinking about that post-16 offer, perhaps for SEND, but also more broadly in terms of the employee engagement that we're doing, because there was an acknowledgement that actually Southwark only has so much control over kind of where our post-16 residents are going and getting them into good work. So perhaps an opportunity to look at Southwark Works and other partners in the borough to really understand how they're supporting our residents into good jobs after the age of 16, as well as looking at the skills delivery plan, which actually comes to an end under the current economic strategy, which comes to an end at the end of 2025. So perhaps there was an opportunity to look at that and look at kind of what it delivered, what it didn't, and moving forward, what the new economic strategy could look like. Another aspect that we discussed around Councillor Batterson's portfolio is management of commercial leases, including rent, repairs, marketing. I think those of us who are councillors in the room will have heard businesses having frustrations with kind of arrangements around commercial leases and also increases in rent quite dramatically in recent years. And other things such as debt recovery plans. So yeah, to summarise, youth offer, kind of what is our engagement with young people, the post-16 offer for SEND in terms of jobs and support, care levers too, and also kind of looking at skills delivery plan, employee engagement functions, perhaps commercial leases, including rent. So those were the key areas. I appreciate there's quite a lot of information to digest when you don't have this in front of you, like I do. Happy to pass it around. I'm told it will be circulated, so you can look at it. We don't need to make a decision tonight. We've got how long till our next meeting? October. So we've got the whole summer to, well, not quite, because we'll need to get requests out a month in advance, but or how do you feel about that?
Yes,
Very
between
much.
October and March, 4 meetings. Because it's truncated a year because of
And
I can send you the list if you like.
if you wish to speak, please do go by the chair where possible. Amit,
Sorry, apologies.
the meetings are published online, no?
Yes.
Already. So if you could circulate that as well, I'm sure members can find it themselves, but please do circulate that alongside the bullets that I've just read out after this meeting. John?
From your list, I thought one of the things that would be really good for this group, that would be the sort of the youth offer, which I take to include everything from sort of youth offending services through to provision of exciting youth playgrounds. It's kind of like, you know, what is the offer across Southwark, and how do we focus it? I'm clear that sort of, for instance, some of our more high-profile adventure playgrounds are not operating the way that they used to be because they haven't had the investment they've needed. It's much less clear sort of for services where you're looking at children who need more support, that we might be where we might be focusing sort of those targeted youth services. It would be great to look across that board. So if we're going to choose something for the first meeting, I feel like deciding now and giving officers the summer to work out how to present us with something potential, that would be my vote.
Yeah, nice, thank you. Councillor Bentley.
Don't want to be difficult, but I do think we should set the agenda rather than the cabinet members, you know, who may well be changing posts. So anyway, setting that aside, I agree on the youth offer. I think there is a real issue around work experience, lack of opportunities for internships. Often the council's very, I think it links to what we've heard earlier. It champions its own internships, but those wider connections in the borough, I do think, seem to be a real problem. That just kind of signposting, despite this kind of Gen Z, Z, whatever they are, understanding what's on offer. This does seem to be a real problem, connecting those things. I think the other thing that we do need to have as a standing item is this point around schools and falling roles. Alistair said, I don't think I would say confidently, but he did say he's not expecting any schools to close in the next coming year. That wasn't a cast iron guarantee, and I think we need to keep an eye on that. And then really, this point around commercial property management, I'm assuming you would probably be CC'd on an email I got earlier, that it's just mind-blowing what's going on out there with the kind of rising costs and the way that the council doesn't seem to be supporting small and independent businesses. So I'd like to keep that on the agenda, please.
Thank you, Councillor Bentley. And just to comment on what you said initially, I agree. I think it's important we hear from Cabinet as well as setting the agenda ourselves. I think those two things are important. Okay, Councillor Hussain.
Thank you. I had a pound for every time I said Gen Z today. So I'll be a session with Gen Z. It's fine, but it's great. So in terms of what I'm coming from is that I think the youth offer, I definitely agree with that in terms of youth unemployment, lack of work experience, lack of kind of opportunities for young people in the borough. But also I think that also connects potentially with Southwark Works. Do you know what I mean? So I think so in terms of, is that the vehicle, or can we do more in that space from a kind of Southwark Works perspective to engage with more employers in that space? So yeah, in terms of first kick-off meeting, I'd be in favour of that youth offer.
Okay, thank you, Ali.
Yes, I was about to talk. That is apprenticeship. Is there any provision for that? Seen, yeah, for that.
It's a good question, and actually, something that is coming down the pipe is, I think it's funding from central government around a scheme called Connect to Work, to encourage people with disabilities and send kind of care leavers, school leavers into things like apprenticeships. And I barely know the details at all, but it is likely something we'll look at later in the year to see what the council's doing in that regard and to scrutinise it. So yeah, it's a good suggestion. Thank you. Martin?
If you're going to use send or anything to do with that, it's probably better to do it in the spring after the law goes.
Exactly, yeah. So I think that I like the idea that's emerging around looking at the youth offer earlier in the year, because of that reason. So when we spoke with Councillor Batterson, he had flagged that too. So yes, I think that the Commission should align with that. Councillor Hartley.
Sorry, I just wanted to be clear. I also agree with other comments that Councillor Bentley was making about keeping particularly on secondary education numbers and how what the papers we looked at tonight are. There's an awful lot of it. What will be interesting is how that information is applied, and I was taking a lot of heart from what they were saying about effective working relationships between people that have to be decision making. But we've got to keep an eye on it, haven't we? Because it's such potential massive impact on large. That is great to hear. One final thought: a good idea is a good idea. Even if cabinet members came up with a good, we think they're good ideas, we should run with them. No, we shouldn't, because as Councillor Bentley said, it's up. I mean, currently we've got cabinet members with so many good ideas, we're struggling to choose between them.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. We don't normally get onto topics like this at this commission. Oh, I wish it wasn't. Okay, well, in that spirit, this is just one list of ideas. Does anybody on the commission have anything else they'd like to suggest? Councillor Bentley.
I don't have anything I'd like to suggest, but as we've said, the next meeting is October. Kind of, are we going to keep this as a kind of rolling? Conscious, as you said, we need to invite people and like. When do you want to set a deadline?
For us to a deadline to make a decision about the work,
or to submit you
Programme.
with even more ideas.
Yes, I'm open to that idea. Which day in October is it?
Chair, I think it would be best to have catch up in September, because our next date is the 6th. So ideally, we want invites about it once, so that we
Sure.
get substantial.
That's fine. Okay, well, I think we can have the summer then, no?
I believe so. Yep.
Great. Awesome. Well, in that case, I mean, if you can make sure all of these bullets and the additional ideas and things we've discussed are circulated, then we'll get that out to the commission members. We do have 5 more minutes. If anybody has anything else they'd like to share. Well, there we go. There we go. And thanks everyone for helping me to achieve that, because we've got quite a lot of people here tonight as well. So yeah. All right, wonderful. Well, we'll be in touch. Have a lovely summer, everybody, and see you in October.